Hello and welcome to another episode of Her Helping Habit on Air. We are a Canadian fertility agency specializing in known egg donation, embryo donation, and surrogacy, helping intended parents, surrogates, and donors navigate their journeys through education, support, and advocacy. Through open conversations and shared experiences, we aim to empower everyone involved in the family building process. Her Helping Habit on Air does not provide medical advice. These are simply lived experiences shared to help make the often uncharted world of infertility feel a little less scary.
I'm Katie Paquin, and I am the agency founder, and I'm also a 6-time egg donor. I'm going to introduce you here to our lead egg donor coordinator, Sarah, and if you are applying to our program, you will have an intake call with her.
Hey, I'm Sarah. I'm the egg donor coordinator with Her Helping Habit, and my background is in women's health, and I'm an egg donor myself.
So we're a little different from other agencies in the sense that we are Canada's first known egg donor agency, and this is actually true internationally. We've opened our program up to people all over the world who want a known donor or who would like to be an egg donor and know their recipients. We know that this is best practice for children conceived through egg donation, and it doesn't have to be a scary relationship. You don't need to be in touch often or at all if you don't want. But at a minimum, you're agreeing to update your health information for the next 18 years.
So we like to encourage people to develop all these relationships organically. For myself, I've gotten to know a few of my recipients quite well, and we become really good friends. And other people, I've met them, and they send me a Christmas card in the mail, and we have each other's contact information if we need to get in touch. And behind this is our core values of integrity and communication.
And we're also very passionate about your care and the recipients being successful in this. So we also really value compassion too, and we're always on the ball, making sure we're in touch with you and your recipients so nothing gets left in between and in the gaps. We don't want that to be a concern. We know often with other agencies, donors feel like they're just a number and all the initial communication is at the initial match, and we're here to support you throughout the entire journey.
So some benefits to donating are to learn more about your own genetics and fertility. You're going to have a lot of testing and genetic panel done. That information can be super interesting. But you're financially reimbursed for all of your personal expenses and for anything travel related. Usually we're finding donors have about $5,000 in personal expenses plus. And send us an individual email if you're curious about that process, and we can go over everything with you. You get to travel to another city or country. I've done quite a bit of traveling with my own donations, and I always turn that into a kind of trip because you have a lot of free time outside of the clinic appointments. So I've gotten to see a lot of new cities because of my donations. And you're going to have unique and transparent relationships through your known donations, which has really been life-changing for me. And you get to see the actual impact you have on people's lives and see how it actually changes their lives. And that's been an amazing thing.
So being a donor is definitely no easy task, and we're going to be asking for a lot from you. So we want to be upfront and let you know exactly what we're looking for and what might be required. So ideally, we would like egg donors to be 21 to 34 and excellent physical, mental health. There's a lot involved in this process, and people obviously are wanting to choose the best genetics for their children. We don't want anybody who is a drug user or a marijuana smoker, a nicotine smoker, or if you vape. I'm sorry if that's the case. Please try your best to quit and reach out to us when you are completely clean. We can't have you on the Depo-Provera shot. If you are on this type of birth control, that's okay, but we will need you to stop 6 months ahead of your egg donor cycle. We also need you to be willing to undergo a background check. We need you to adhere to the appointments. There's going to be several, 5 to 6 ultrasound appointments, lots of blood work, genetic testing. There's a lot involved in this process. And ultimately, we need you to commit to updating that health information for the next 18 years.
So the basic steps that you're going to take is applying with us. We're going to have a screening call, a video call. We're going to get you to fill out a complete profile with a lot of get to know you information, a lot of family health history information. We're going to do an AMH test, which is an ovarian reserve blood test. You're going to send us a whole bunch of photos. We're going to make your profile live. And then there's going to be a waiting period before we finally get you a match. So we might connect you with recipients through a video call before you get officially matched. Some people want to do this, some people don't. It's optional. And then once you're officially matched, we're going to begin the whole process. So basically, you're going to have a screening appointment virtually with a doctor. Sometimes that can be in person. Then you're going to have a physical screening appointment. So blood work, ultrasounds, a lot of testing. Then you're going to speak with one of our counselors. Then you're going to complete a legal agreement. Once all those steps are out of the way, we're going to move on to the actual donation cycle.
So we want you to have as much of a choice throughout this process as intended parents. I would really encourage you to start deciding now how much contact you think you might be comfortable with. So do you want a birthday card every year? Do you want an update every year? Kind of, how are these children doing? Do you not want any of that and maybe just a one-time photo? Or do you just want to know if it was successful and how many children they had? Do you not want to know any of this and just, let me reach out and update my health information as needed? This is really important to think about and to decide how you feel about this ahead of time, because we're going to present you with matches based on your comfort level and vice versa. So we're not going to be recommending parents who want full-blown contact and want you to be coming to their child's birthday party every year if we know that's something that you're absolutely hesitant about. So we want to gauge exactly what your comfort level is and match you accordingly. And please let us know if there's anything that you want or that you don't want, and we'll do our best to match you however you see fit. And that, like I said, that comfort level. So we will send you a match form to review, and you'll get to see the parents, the clinic that they're with, their doctor. You can research that and see if there's, this is a doctor you're comfortable working with, because that's just as much part of the process as your recipients that you're donating to. So you'll get a feel on why they need an egg donor and then which clinic they're working with.
So just to add on to that, you will see pictures of the recipients, so you'll get to know who you're donating to. You can ask any questions you want about them, and if you're interested in a video call with them, we can make that happen. So let's talk about medical consultations. So what's involved in screening? You're going to go to the clinic, you're going to have blood work done. It's going to include a whole hormonal panel. You're going to have STI testing, infectious disease screening. You're going to do some drug screening. You're going to have an internal vaginal ultrasound. They may also do an external exam, like a breast exam or physical exam. And later on, you're going to speak to a counselor. This counselor is just going to review all of the non-medical aspects of egg donation and make sure that you understand and are comfortable with all of the implications of the process. As with any medical procedure, egg donation is not without its risks. I really prefer donors to be aware of all of these risks and know what they're getting into before they make the decision to commit, because it can be really heartbreaking for someone to get really far into the process, read about a possible risk, and then back out. That can be really heartbreaking for recipients. So what we want to do is educate you ahead of time so you feel like this is a good risk, that like the risks are reasonable for the benefits. So they can include things like bloating, mood swings, nausea, headaches, hot flashes. And the thing I want you to know most about is ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome, or OHSS. So that includes sometimes fluid leaking into the abdomen. You might feel really bloated. It can be serious. It's usually mild and uncomfortable, but we want you to be aware of that. You can read more about this in our FAQ section. The actual egg retrieval process is a minor surgical procedure. That's an inpatient procedure, so you just go to the clinic and you're released the same day. You spend a few hours at the clinic. The actual procedure is very short. It's about 15 to 20 minutes, but you have an hour to get you prepped, and then a couple hours to recover afterwards. There can be a slight risk of complications like infection or bleeding. You're given antibiotics following the procedure, and you can get pregnant following the cycle, so we'll review an abstinence period with you as well. You have your own lawyer during this process, as do the recipients. They pay for your lawyer, so you don't pay for any legal fees. It's important to outline things that are really obvious, but are really good to have on paper, like you're not going to sue for custody of their children, are there parental rights, and they're not going to ask you for child support. And then also what happens to future, leftover embryos, if there's excess embryos from a cycle. So the options are donating them to other people, donating them to science, or having them destroyed. So you should think about what is important to you in those aspects. After you get all of those other steps out of the way, you're finished your legal agreement, the clinic may put you on birth control. It depends on the doctor and the timing of your cycle. You're going to give yourself injections, and that's in every day for the average is about 11 days. So that could take anywhere from 8 to 12 days on average. Then you're going to go in for monitoring appointments during this time. So they're going to be checking your follicle size, making sure that your estrogen levels are rising at an appropriate level, that things are growing and looking good. Then when your follicles are just the right size, they're going to instruct you to do a trigger. This trigger will help mature the eggs, and then 36 hours later, you go for your retrieval procedure. It's very important that you take the trigger on time and that you be on time for the retrieval procedure. You need to have a companion for the retrieval procedure because you won't be able to drive yourself home afterwards. And it's important to have someone stay with you after to make sure that you're doing okay. If you don't have a companion that can accompany you, someone from our team will. We'll make sure that you're taken care of. After the retrieval, your part's done. They're going to grow the embryos in the lab for 3 to 5 days, and then they're going to pick their favorite embryo and they're transfer it into a lucky uterus. Hopefully, the family gets a baby.
So is there any way that you couldn't qualify? There's a few things, and I did mention them earlier in the video, but absolutely no smoking, okay? We do not want people, unfortunately, if you're a nicotine smoker, marijuana smoker, that does affect egg quality. So we need you to be clean from that for at least 3 months for our program. So again, the only things that really can disqualify you are marijuana smoking, nicotine smoking, vaping, any other drug use, or those few forms of birth control I had mentioned at the beginning. So Depo-Provera, the shot, or if you do have the implant. And we can work with that. We just need it removed 6 months, have those hormones out of your body to begin the donation. We'd love to have you in the program if you've lasted this long and watched our video all the way through.
If you'd like to connect with us or have questions about known egg donation, embryo donation, surrogacy, becoming a parent, or exploring whether becoming a surrogate or donor is right for you, you can find us online at Her Helping Habit or email us at info@herhelpinghabit.com. We're passionate about educating and supporting all parties throughout the journey, and you can also book a free consultation with one of our coordinators directly through our website. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon on the next episode of Her Helping Habit on Air.